Joining us now is Arnie Bellini, the founder of ConnectWise and CEO of venture capital firm Bellini Capital. Arnie has successfully predicted the fall of China's stock market and real estate market and is now focused on their technology, AI, and cyber war capabilities. So, Arnie, thank you very much for joining us today. First off, can you please tell us what digital warfare is and why should we be concerned about it?
Well, I think the best example of that is what we just saw with the 12-day war. Have you ever heard of a 12-day war? I mean, that's not a normal thing. There's a reason it was only 12 days, and that's because there was years of cyber espionage and cyber infiltration and even cyber Trojan horses laid in place before the 12-day war. And that's what really informed the Israelis on exactly what they needed to do and exactly how they needed to go about dismantling the Iranian regime. So, I mean, that was all predicated with cyber work on the front end, and that's why it was only 12 days. So, imagine the savings in military might that you can have if you get your cyber warfare and cyber espionage right. And so I think that's a really great lesson that we learned with the 12-day war.
So speaking about that, how can artificial intelligence or AI be weaponized, and what forms does that take?
Yeah, well, AI can be used for good. It can be used for evil. It's like any powerful tool, right? Uh, and it just depends on who's using it and what they're trying to do with it. So, with regard to military, I think it has great possibilities for eliminating warfare because if you get AI right, you can actually stop a war before it happens, right? And again, we saw that with the 12-day war. We were able to bring that down to just 12 days. I would say that if China wants to try to take Taiwan one day, good luck, because I think what we could probably digitally stop them before they launch ships to go towards Taiwan. It's like, it's all about that. It's all about being preventative. It's all about knowing all the information on the front end before some kinetic event happens, right? And then when you think about the digital side of the world, digital warfare, it's so much less expensive than kinetic warfare. I don't need nuclear bombs. I don't need tanks. I don't need anything, right? It's like I've got a bunch of hackers or cyber espionage folks that can infiltrate, and they know how to do that, and they can get all kinds of information. You're seeing it every single day.
Would you say America is prepared for digital warfare, whether it's infrastructure or anything else? What threat level does digital warfare pose to American infrastructure and economic systems and digital security?
Well, it's a great threat. It's the greatest threat that we face, right? I mean, the great thing about the United States of America is its geography, right? In all previous centuries, we've never had to worry about a war because we got this huge ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, preventing anyone from sneaking up on us, right? Well, not so much true when you're talking about digital warfare because I can get across the Atlantic Ocean in a nanosecond, right, across an internet line, and I can ping any door or window that's open inside the United States entire system, everything that's connected to the internet, right? And think about this for a second. We've got 85 billion devices connected to the internet globally today, all right? And just for reference, back in let's just say 72, there were 35 devices connected to what was, the internet at the time. So, we've basically taken everything globally, everything runs on it, and now everything is connected on the internet. So we have a highway to get to every single one of those 85 billion devices, and we can get right to the door. Now, if the door is open, we can go in. So this is the whole concept of cyber espionage. A lot of doors and windows, if you will, are open out there in the digital world. And if you know how to get through them, then you can get all the information that you want. You can plant Trojan horses. You can do all kinds of things. And don't think for one second that a lot of this hacking that we're seeing is just arbitrary organizations doing it. A lot of these are sponsored by authoritarian governments who seek to take the West down. So, I mean, the Chinese Communist Party, we found 10 contracts with the Chinese Communist Party giving out to tech companies in China saying, hey, here's a professional service agreement. Here's what we need you to deliver for us. We need you to plant these Trojan horses. Can you go after electrical, grids? Can you go after, water supply systems, And so we don't even know where all of that is buried or hidden in the United States digital infrastructure. And that's a really big concern that we have, right? And so we're doing things about it down here in Tampa Bay. We call it Cyber Bay because it's really the world's number one place for cybersecurity innovation is happening right here in the Tampa Bay area, and so we're really actively working on all of these problems right here in Tampa Bay, Cyber Bay.
So with those concerns that you mentioned, the threats as well, can you put it into perspective, comparing cyber warfare, AI capabilities to traditional weapons, say missiles, bombs, drones, and other forms of warfare? Which one is posing more of a risk?
Well, I'd say they all pose risks. It really depends on where we're going to be infiltrated. AI is going to be the thing that, okay, I talked about it preventing wars, okay, but let's talk about we have to go to war. You're seeing it in the Ukraine. I mean, it's beautiful what they're doing with drones, but I mean, you can take a whole swarm of drones and you can synchronize their behavior, and then you can add AI to those and think of it like a hornet's nest, okay? A bunch of drones that are like a hornet's nest, but you have them programmed, and they also all have individual brains in them, or coordinated by a central brain that says, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. You can create all kinds of diversionary tactics. You can create all kinds of attack formations with a group of drones. So, it being accompanied with AI lets it anticipate behavior on the battlefield. It also lets it be proactive with the patterns that it sees in the enemy's movements. And so it becomes a very lethal weapon if you want it to be, that's for sure. And that's where we're going with AI and drones and modern warfare. Not to mention, you're gonna have Optimus robots walking down your street, honestly, in the next 10 months that cost $25,000, and they're gonna have a full AI stack downloaded into their head, right? So you're going to have some devices that could be definitely used as soldiers, right? They're smarter than us, they're stronger than us, they're faster than us. They don't need to take rest. They need a battery recharge every once in a while, but they don't ask for raises. It's like it's going to be crazy what can happen with AI, robotics, and technology as we move into the modern world. But I think the real point that I would like to make is if you get AI right. And thank God Donald Trump, President Trump, has taken such initiative to bring AI and make the United States of America the AI Mecca. That's the key. If we're the ones pumping out the technology, we will always have superior technology, AI technology, to overcome the AI of any other nation state who seeks to do harm to any of us or any of our allies. And don't think for a second that we're not entering into a world where it's autocracy versus democracy. That's the world that we're entering into right now.
Okay, I do want to get into the China aspect, but I just have one more question regarding cyber warfare. And you've explained it very comprehensively already. I just want to get a even clearer picture. So what does this warfare look like if robots are involved, computers are involved, and what you're describing sort of reminds me of a scene in the new Superman movie. It kind of mirrors what you're saying. I don't know if you saw that movie yet. But is it just going to be people in front of desks when this war happens? People in front of computers?
Exactly. It's going to be controlled centrally, and it won't be. The idea is to take the humans out of the kinetic issues, right? Don't have them in harm's way, right? Bring them back. Control everything from a central control location. Right here down the street from us in Tampa Bay is MacDill Air Force Base. You have central command for the United States of America right there. Something happens where someone's coming after the United States, it gets coordinated 5 miles down the road here. So, it's all about central command. We just pull more and more of that back to a central command facility and let the robots and the drones and the AI do it. And what's great about it is we can give them a strategy, we can give the AI, soldiers, if you will, a strategy, and then they can carry out that strategy autonomously from there. So it's kind of that's dangerous, obviously, but it could be done. You have all kinds of options, but the key is you got to be number one in AI. The total key here is you got to be number one in AI. Your AI needs to be better than any other nation states. Then you're always going to be smarter.
What you're saying reminds me of so many movies that I've seen involving AI. So when AI doesn't become sentient, I mean, this is veering into science fiction. You don't need soldiers, but in Terminator, right? You obviously saw that movie. soldiers are needed to overthrow AI, which I find kind of interesting because you're sort of transitioning from not having soldiers back to having soldiers if AI gets to that point. But besides that, this is science fiction stuff probably. On China, is the main competition on AI? Sure, yeah, if you would like to respond.
Science fiction is always based on what we can is stretching the reality of what we know today into something that is not yet able to be done. So it's always really very accurate. It's a very good accurate predictor of what we think might happen in the future. I mean, you look at all these, sci-fi movies from the 50s, we're doing all those things. You look at the Jetsons, the cartoon, the Jetsons, it's like we're doing everything that was in the Jetsons pretty much. So, science fiction becomes reality at some point. I just wanted to point that out. That's all.
Okay, so on to the US-China competition on AI. Are these two countries the main players right now?
Yeah, it's China and it's the United States. And the brilliant move that the Trump administration made was to allow the H20 NVIDIA chip to be sold to China. And we want that because it gets them connected to American technology. It gets them dependent on American technology. And it's more important, by the way, that it's not just the NVIDIA chip, it's the NVIDIA platform and operating system that is more powerful and more sticky in this case. So, you talk about the AI race. If China is basing their AI on the United States AI, then we will always have the better version. And just to be clear, the H20 chip is like the fourth best chip that NVIDIA is now working on, right? So it's the fourth best chip. And even that H20 chip was dumbed down a bit. So it basically says your AI can never be as good as our AI. But the operating system that runs AI is the real thing that makes it sticky. So it's not just the chips, it's the software and it's the API set and it's the open source community that supports that is the real sticky point. It's the only way that you can do AI quickly. And so that's what NVIDIA's got. And I'm sure that's what he told President Trump. It's like, doesn't matter what chips we sell them, they're going to be hooked on our operating system. That's what you want. So brilliant move.
Okay, just one final question. We just have a few more seconds. Do you think the US can keep up with energy production capabilities compared to China?
Absolutely. Because, with the Trump administration, again, brilliant move. And we get a business person in the White House. I think it's pretty amazing what you're seeing as a result of that. We don't have a lawyer. We don't need more laws. We need more economy. And that's where you put a business person in the White House. President Trump is allowing the companies who are creating the AI super facilities to actually become utility companies. That solves the problem. They can actually monetize that. They can create their own power. It'd be clean power. They have control of their own destiny. And so that's the brilliant move. So yes, we're not going to have any problem with that. You're going to see a huge boom. We got $15 trillion coming into the United States of foreign investment based on all that President Trump has been able to do in the whole what's called tariff wars, right? $15 trillion. If you capitalize all of Silicon Valley's companies, that's about $9 trillion. So we have almost twice the amount of Silicon Valley value being pumped into the United States economy. And a lot of that's going to be used to build out our electric grid. And so, you've seen steel mills coming back. We just need a ton of energy. We need a ton of electric grid duplication. And we've got the investment base from even foreign nation states to do that now.
Well, okay, Arnie, fascinating conversation today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.